Wakizashi's Tea House. Konnichiwa minasan, this is Gray from Wakizashi's Tea House over in Japan. How are you doing today? Are you genki? I'm genki, thanks. I'm enjoying a nice hot cup of tea on a cool autumn day. Okay, today I'm going to do a review of Hawkeye Season 1 Episode 1. Now, I'm going to do a spoiler-filled review, which is going to come later. First of all, I want to give my initial thoughts about it. Let me give you some background. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Netflix Marvel series, especially Daredevil. Season 1 and 2 are fantastic. Season 3 is good too, in my opinion. I also enjoyed Jessica Jones Season 1, not the rest. And I liked Luke Cage Season 1 too. Season 1 as well, but Season 2 kind of went off for me. Iron Fist, sorry, it just didn't work for me, that one, and the Defenders, that didn't work either. So, that's my background. I'm also a huge comic book geek, as you probably know if you've watched my channel for a while. I haven't read Hawkeye before, but I'm aware of the character, mainly through the Marvel Avengers movies. I've heard about the David Ayer and Matt Fraction classic series, which is very cool. I think I've read the first volume of that, and that's pretty funny. I think some of this is based on that, but I'm not quite sure. So, Episode 1, what's it about? Well, first of all, it stars Jeremy Renner reprising his role as Clint Barton, the real Hawkeye, and it's Steinfeld? Let me check. Haley Steinfeld, who plays Kate Bishop. Now, first things first, I really like her in this role. She's got a good personality. She's a good character. She's quite funny. She's not annoying. Clint Barton, he's kind of more understated in this. He has a background role in it, which a lot of people are pointing out. I know he's kind of a guest star in his own show, but I think this is going to be more about the new Hawkeye. That seems to be where Marvel are going with this. They're going to focus on Kate Bishop's story. I think we're going to see Hawkeye training her in the future episodes. So, as a beginning episode, I thought it was fun. It was enjoyable. I got into the Christmas spirit of it. There are some funny scenes. There's a few moments where you're kind of shaking your head thinking, come on. But it's not meant to be realistic. This is based on comic book series. These characters get punched and they get back up again, where me and you would be like, we'd be out. So, good action scenes, a little bit over the top at times. I like the characters, as I said. It's nice seeing Jeremy Renner, Clint Barton, and seeing a bit of his family. Haley Steinfeld is good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to episode 2, and I'm going to watch the whole season. So I'm going to give a spoiler-filled, deeper review from now on. So if you don't want to know spoilers, please stop watching here and go watch the episode. Come back and let me know what you think about it. Okay, here we go. Hawkeye, Season 1, Episode 1. Episode 1 opens, and it's the year 2012. We're moments before the Chitauri attack on New York, which we saw in the first Avengers movie. Now, we get introduced to a young Kate Bishop, and we meet her mother and father. They're living in an apartment in New York. And in a fantastic scene, we see the attack from Kate Bishop's eyes. So she's seeing it through the windows, she's feeling the explosions. She's running through the apartment, terrified. And there's an explosion, it blows a big hole in one of the walls, and she looks out, and she sees the attack. She's terrified, of course, and then in the distance, we see an arrow flying through the air. It hits one of the Chitauri warriors, blows him up. And then she sees Hawkeye, the real Hawkeye, Clint Barton. And he's fighting the Chitauri. And he jumps off one of the skyscrapers, going backwards, flying down and shooting an arrow, of course. Swings with the arrow and goes through a window. It's a really exciting scene. You can see that she must be totally inspired by this. Seeing Hawkeye in action has really caught her imagination. So Kate and her mother manage to flee. They escape with their lives. Unfortunately, Kate's father doesn't make it. We then transition to a funeral scene and say goodbye to her father. And she asks her mum, of course. She wants a bow and arrow. Then we jump to the opening credit scenes. Now it's done in animation style, and I think it's inspired by the classic series, which was written by Matt Fraction with art by David Ayer. Is it Ayer or AJA? So we see an animated sequence of Kate training in martial arts, in gymnastics, in fencing, and of course in archery. The scene then switches to present day, and it's Christmas in New York. We get some nice Christmas music playing, and we see some shots of the city with snow falling. And we go to Kate Bishop's school or college, I guess it is, and she's doing some kind of dare with a couple of friends where she's going to fire an arrow at a bell in a clock tower. And of course she does it, she hits it second time, and the clock tower basically collapses. So she's broken the clock tower. Good start. We then catch up with Clint Barton, Hawkeye, and he's out with his 3 kids in New York. They're watching a musical. It's a musical of Rogers, based on Steve Rogers, Captain America, and it's laughably bad. It's quite funny. So he's not enjoying it. And in this scene, we discover that he's using a hearing aid, which is switched off because he can't stand the musical. He was saying I live this. Then he goes for a toilet break, and in the toilet we see some graffiti on the urinal, and it says, "Thanos was right." Then there's quite a funny scene in there with the guy, a fan, trying to get a selfie with him, and Clint's like, this is not the time or the place. Next we see Kate Bishop, and she's walking through New York, going to visit her mum at her mum's fancy apartment. In the apartment there's a beautiful, looks like a katana, a samurai sword on display, and Kate's asking, what's with all the swords? And then we get to meet, let's check his name, Jacques Duquesne. He's good looking, but he's got a twirling moustache. He looks like a twirling mustachioed villain. It's pretty obvious he's going to be a bad guy. I mean, I don't know that for sure. This is my supposition. So we find out this is Kate's mum's boyfriend, and there's obvious friction between Kate and Jacques. Then we switch back to Clint and his 3 children. They're out having dinner in a Chinese restaurant in New York. And while they're there, they get a phone call from the mum. And we're told that the mums are home alone and they're making their way back for Christmas to be with her. Okay, then one of the Chinese waiters comes up and he tells Clint, Hawkeye, the meal's on the house, you don't have to pay. You saved my city. It's a nice little scene there. Okay, and then the scene switches yet again. We're back with Kate Bishop, and she's made her way to a fancy party somewhere in New York. Now her mum has invited her there, and she told Kate to wear a beautiful red dress, but Kate turns up wearing a black suit, shirt and tie, and she looks like one of the waiting staff. And they mess about with that joke quite a few times in the next few scenes. And it's in this scene that we are introduced to, who is it? It's Armand. And it turns out that Armand is Jacques' uncle. Now, Armand is played by quite a famous British actor who's a really good actor, but in this he's playing a really horrible part. He's a rich old man, privileged guy, obviously, and he's not happy because he tells Kate that Jacques and Kate's mother are going to get married. They're engaged now, they're going to get married. And Kate's surprised to hear this. And Armand is saying, I don't know what he sees in her. And he's quite disparaging to Kate's mother. So yeah, being set up as a privileged old white guy, not a nice guy. Kate follows Armand to a secret auction which is taking place in another part of the building. It appears to be down in the wine cellar. Now what you have is the very rich, the elite, are bidding on illegal black market items. And one of the items that comes up is the Ronin's sword, which was seen in Avengers Endgame. Do you remember when Clint, Hawkeye, had gone rogue and he was taking out the criminal underworld? There's a retractable sword he used, and that's being bid on. Now Jacques wants the sword, and Armand and Jacques are trying to outbid each other for it for some reason. Armand wins and he gets the sword. Then the next item is revealed to be the Ronin's suit. And just as that is put on display, there's a huge explosion and the back wall blows out and a group of robbers come running in and start looking for something. They're shouting, okay, where's the watch? We've got to find the watch. So let me check my notes. So while this is going on, Jacques picks up the Ronin's sword and he puts it in his jacket pocket and keeps it quiet. The robbers are shouting you've got 90 seconds to find the watch. We keep hearing the watch, so the watch is important. We don't even know what it is, but there you go. Then Kate picks up the Ronin suit, and the next minute we see she's put it on and she's fighting the robbers. Now, to be fair, it's not realistic. It's a comic book film, comic book TV series. It's not meant to be realistic, but she's not that great. She makes mistakes. She's trying to fight. She's pretty good, but she's getting hit, and she's also very lucky. She's using her fists. She's using the kind of jumping on the men and doing the kind of roll that Black Widow's famous for. Not as good, of course. She's using wine bottles, and she's using items from the auction to hit them with. They think she's the Ronin. So Kate flees the scene, and outside in the traffic there's a one-eyed dog which she sees and chases it out into the road. Now the dog's going to get hit by a car, and she saves it. It's a very strange scene. Then she takes the dog back to her apartment. Okay, then the scene switches and we catch up with Clint again. Clint's in his hotel room with his 3 kids, and he sees the news, and on the news, of course, they show the Ronin has been spotted again in New York, not seen for many years. So Clint's thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? Someone's wearing my suit. And then the scene switches again. We catch back up with Kate Bishop. She's left the dog in the apartment and she's gone to track down Armand. She wants to know, what his interest with the swords were and what's going on with it with her mother. So she gets to Armand's apartment and she makes her way in, kind of breaks in, and she finds him, of course, dead on the floor, covered in blood. And she flees the scene quickly. And as she's running out back into the streets, the what's called the tracksuit mafia catch up with her, the ones who I think had robbed the auction before, and a big fight scene ensues. And again, it's a little bit crazy. Kate's taking punches, she's getting up from them, she's fighting back. Then just as it seems she's had it, she gets into a car, she locks the doors. But of course the tracksuit mafia smash through the window with their fists, and then suddenly, bang, they disappear. They start being knocked out. You can guess who it is. Clint has come and he's come to help her, to capture her. So she flees again and he chases her down a dark alley. He grabs her, stops her, pulls off the mask. He's about to punch her, and then he sees her face. It's like, wait a minute, who are you? And that's where the episode ends. So how about you? Have you watched the episode? If you have, please leave a comment and let me know what you thought about it. Here's a brief look at the comic book I talked about, the Matt Fraction and David Ayer. It's really cool, look at that. Nice panel breakdown there, nice art, very stylish. Okay, that's it for my video, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video. This is Gray from Wakizashi's Tea House signing off, saying matane. See ya. Wakizashi's Tea House. Please subscribe.